Well, hello everybody. I'm back, and today is kind of a very unique video for my channel. I'm going to tell you about this abandoned building that is 11 miles away from the building that I am renovating. Both of these buildings are former Buster Brown Shoe Company buildings. And there she is. So a little context for people that are new to the channel, because this video might have a little bit of an appeal to other people who don't typically visit the channel. I bought a 1919 Buster Brown Shoe Company building in my hometown for only $20,000. And so I spent the last year trying to save that building, and I'm on a great track. Things are going great. There are some things in the building that need to be replaced, and it just so happens that this building in Mattoon is basically a twin sister to mine. It's not exactly a mirror image, but it's like 90% the same. So it has the same dimensionality in all of the floor joists, the same hardwood flooring, the same vertical 12 by 12 Douglas fir vertical support beams, Douglas fir 16 by 14 horizontal beams, early 20th century, old growth, tight grain Douglas fir wood. The hardwood floors are bird's eye maple. We'll talk a little bit about that later. And what are the chances that both buildings, 11 miles apart, were built in 1919, and at the exact same time, almost to the year, 100 years later, not quite, 103 years later, or 104 years, that one would be torn down, why am I having trouble speaking? One would be being torn down while the other one would be in need of parts. It felt like the universe is coming together. And so for the last few months, I've been spending time trying to acquire that building. And guess what? I bought it. But I didn't buy it. We actually went into this and went so far down the road that we had sent a certified cashier's check to buy it and demolish and harvest the timbers from the building and the brick. I'm going to tell you all about that story. Sadly, this is a tragedy, this story. It didn't end up as I had hoped, but it does have maybe a little hopeful hook. So, but that's not the point. This is a really cool walkthrough of an old building, and I think you're really going to enjoy it. So for those people who like watching abandoned building explorations, this is going to be right up your alley. For those people who are interested in following me on my journey of fixing up a Buster Brown Shoe Company building, it's going to be great for you guys too. So, and for the sake of being honest with everybody, like I said, we had temporarily purchased this building. I'll tell you all about that story. I made this walkthrough when we actually owned it. So right now I'm parked kind of on the perimeter of the property. I'm not going up there. But yeah, so here we go. So there's the logo for the Buster Brown Shoe Company building. Pretty decorative. I bet that's worth some money. Here we are. It's located in Mattoon, Illinois. And look at these beautiful windowsills. I counted the windowsills in my building. There are 296 of them that still need to be replaced, and there are about 300 in this building. So with an air hammer, those would, little air hammer, just bang, 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 those probably pop out pretty quick. So they are the perfect length. You're looking at a bunch of 4 by 12 Douglas fir, tight grain, old world wood. And the owner was, the guy who bought it at auction, bought this building for $3,000. And he had a guy come in and cut out all of that wood, left every 8th board so that it didn't come crashing down on him. Didn't help much because the roof has completely fallen in a number of areas. And this really is a tragedy. There was a guy that was hired to come and just clean the place up so that things could be salvaged. He's a real character in the story. I'll tell you a little bit more about him coming up. But he used that time to just cut anything of metal worth value, and basically was just scrapping. And indiscriminate, ruined a whole bunch of stuff that would have been worth way more than what it was for scrap value. And it reminds me of that movie Raging Bull, where he pulled the gems out of his title belt, and the pawn shop owner's like, I would have given you a whole bunch of money, but you pulled these gems out. And just kind of reminds me of this guy. But yeah, so there's some Art Deco fluorescent lamps, and those bases at the very top, I could use a couple of those. There are so many things in this building that I could have used, and it makes me sick. It really makes me sick. So basically the city wants this building gone because teenagers were coming in and making videos. Probably they're still doing it, like that urban exploring, that kind of thing. But it is super, super dangerous. I'm lucky I didn't get killed. I'm going to have to blur a few things out where possible in this video, because there's some pretty vulgar stuff that needs to be censored in the graffiti here. But those are really cool textured plates for the stairs, which I would have loved to salvage. Yeah, so we'll see here in just a second an area right there to the front. You can see that basically all 3 floors had kind of fallen in. And it's like right at the nexus of the building, so if you want to go to different areas, you have to go outside and walk around to get back in. This was a differently abled school, we'll call it that, for a long time after it was a brown shoe building. And so that's why there are all these institutional kinds of lunch trays. So you see them in jails or schools, that kind of thing. Thousands of them laying around. So, yeah. And we're basically just like right inside the front door of the building at this point. Another Art Deco fluorescent light fixture hanging there. And if you notice, just like my building, when you look up to the top, those are 2x12s. Those survived the harvesting that happened. They mostly went for the 4x12s. But there are thousands and thousands of those in this building. So it remains to be determined when they eventually knock it down how many of those will actually survive. These are pretty awesome. I don't think anybody's ever even noticed them coming in here. There's some on the 2nd floor and on the 3rd floor. They're these giant solid wood. They're not hollow core. They're ultra heavy, double kind of swing out. Is that called French doors? I don't know what they're called. But ultra wide and solid wood, which is really cool. You'll see a hole cut out in the door of the elevator right there. These plates are kind of valuable. They're like worth $50 on eBay, and you can take that off the screwdriver. I have experience at that. Here's a place where the roof caved in. You can see a beam there. That's a 12x16 beam. Actually, a couple of them. And here's a banister rail. That hardware is pretty cool. So it's just all this stuff is going to be going into the landfill. Makes me almost want to cry, as much as it could come in handy for me. I mean, that could directly be used to improve and to help me save the building that I have. So it's just 11 miles away. Decades of rain falling through, the floor is really rotten. So there is a basement, which I won't be able to show because it's just too darn dark down there. And wasn't able to... there's some industrial carts down there. There's some great big giant boilers. And a bunch more lunch trays down there. So those tread covers are pretty awesome. Be some kind of cool project you could make with those. Now this is the second floor. Coming onto the second floor. And there's 2 more of those big hanging doors. This is maple, bird's eye maple hardwood flooring. Look that up if you're interested. That is some really expensive stuff. So there's like regular maple hardwood and then bird's eye maple. And it is incredible, the price that you can get for that. So past that third column there, you're looking at 4x12s, and these up here are 4x12s. You could make 20-foot dining tables with those, have them 4 inches thick. So you can imagine the value that's still there. I've got about, I would say 3 ceiling joists that are kind of emergency replacements, but I have about 30 that I just like to replace because they're not in perfect condition. And these are the exact same length and dimensionality, so I was really hoping to be able to get a hold of those. And sadly it didn't work out. The guy that he hired to do the cleanup before the salvage was supposed to start, like I said, he went through, cut things indiscriminately. He was standing on the elevator. Get this. Standing on top of the elevator on the 3rd floor and cut the elevator cables and fell. And then ended up in the hospital. The ambulance had to come out. Another time, he was trying to cut the metal doors off of the fire escape, which, oh my gosh, those doors were so gorgeous and incredible. He went up there, the wind blew his ladder off, and he had to call the fire department to come and save him. And we had at least one person tell us that happened to him twice. Oh my gosh. So thank goodness he had his cell phone. That's a really cool old shelving unit there. Yeah. And then let me just say that he basically kind of treated this project as his own. The owner was in another state, and he was very territorial about this when he helped us get in contact with the owner. But beyond that, he was very threatening to us because he saw us as coming in and wanting to take his golden. This is the regular pine here, not the bird's eye. There may be a little bit of character in that as well. But yeah, so he ended up actually threatening us on multiple occasions. So that, that had us full of doubt, to say the least. And man, I don't know what I'm going to do about censoring all this stuff. It's going to be a lot of work. Kids in this area are definitely artists. But anyway, so in the meantime, more and more stuff. He was told not to come back on the property. More and more stuff was disappearing from the property. And yeah, let's just say that he was a character. We actually negotiated. It took us almost over a month to negotiate a price to this, because the idea was to buy some actual heavy equipment, knock the building down. We priced the bricks because there are buyers for antique brick, and wholesale they'll pay. We called around to several of them and had several interested buyers at 40 to 50 cents per brick. And then you can just imagine what all of that great hardwood goes for the board foot. And this would have been, pretty epic, but we were going to buy the appropriate equipment to take care of it, to knock it all down. Okay, so we're going to take a 45-minute drive to a nearby town because the township is auctioning a gigantic excavator. So we're going to go check it out and maybe put a bid on it. So yeah, let's go check that out.
Spin, but you loosen these, okay, and then you roll the bucket up towards you and shake it, this wedge will come out.
So this was owned by the township here, so it has great maintenance and was always worked on by Caterpillar. So it's a sealed bid, so we don't know. We don't know what people are going to be bidding, but we're going to give it a shot and see.
I got really good on a forklift, so I think in a mini Traco, I in one afternoon I got decent with that. So I think if I operate this for a little while, I can get used to it pretty quick.
This stick right here is 3 feet longer than, you got 3 feet more reach.
Okay.
And
what is the reach? The total
I've
reach
never measured it. I can't answer that. I don't know.
Okay.
Like I say, we've always greased it, because if you see here, I put brand new grease zerks in there because they got knocked off or whatever. They got it.
New teeth right away.
Cool. Okay, guys. So now's the big moment. We're gonna call the Shelby. Is it Shelbyville, right? Shelbyville Township, and see if we won the bid or if somebody else did. So I'm hoping that we win. David's hoping that we didn't, but we'll see how it goes. So, oh, I need my glasses. 2 minutes.
Highway Department, this is Wendy.
Hi, Wendy. This is Chris Martin, and I was just calling about the results from the bidding yesterday for the excavator.
Yeah, the gentleman that won it went for $45,000.
Okay, thank you so much. We
All right,
appreciate
you're
that.
welcome.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.
Don't turn it off yet. So, yeah, didn't work out. We actually bid pretty close to double what the minimum asking price was. So. And we thought we had a good chance because it was mostly just a couple local farmers who were bidding, but didn't quite get it. I bet we were second place. Okay, so that's that. On to the next one. The city just wants it down. So they were like, if this comes down, if you can come in with the equipment, knock it down. Some really cool table legs there. Sorry for jumping around. If you could just get it down, then we're going to be much more lenient. So we got the price negotiated. Then just like a couple days before, he said, oh, by the way, after I bought it, I never paid property taxes. So you guys have another $10,000 that you're going to have to pay by the end of the month, by the way, because the city's going to take the property back. Somebody else had purchased one of the years, not even the first year, just one of the middle years that the guy hadn't been paying. And so that was all wrong. And that person probably doesn't know that they have a huge albatross around their neck with this, because it's going to be expensive to get this down. The city had a quote of somewhere around $80,000 to have it knocked down. But anyway, he popped that on us. I'm guessing that, I can't, say for sure what he was thinking, but he didn't pay. There's those doors again, another set. He didn't pay the taxes from day one. So, and he said that he's done this many times. We talked to him and he said, I can run this out with the city for as long as I want. I can just keep them. There's a really cool old coat rack from the schoolhouse. Shame to see that. I mean, it's kind of rudimentary there. It's got some cool casters on it. Over there to the left. And yeah. And so we ended up negotiating a price which was $30,000 to buy this property. This is a really cool old mid-century modern bookshelf. Check that out. That's chrome, tubular chrome, and it just needs the wood replaced in it. And that's a pretty awesome mid-century bookshelf. There's lots of little interesting pieces of furniture throughout this whole building. But I digress. So we negotiate $30,000, but we said we're not paying that taxes. We're going to cut that $10,000 out. He's going to lose it at the end of the month, and so we tried to use that for leverage to get it down even lower. We tried to buy it for $1. That didn't work. Though he didn't, just hang up on us. He kept the conversation going, and but he popped that whole tax thing on, and he basically came in, had the wood harvested, and never showed back up. And we, like I said, we negotiated the price. We actually sent the check to him, a cashier's check, certified cashier's check. David drove all the way to Kansas City from Central Illinois to do the paperwork, drove all the way down there, came all the way back, and the courthouse said he bought this as this name, but there was one letter misspelled, and all the paperwork was wrong. And they, I'm not making any speculation or any claim, they speculated that it's possible he changed the name because there was maybe some knowledge ahead of time what was going to happen, that it was just going to be to get the valuable wood or whatever out, and that there was never an intention of paying the property taxes and just letting the city fall back to, or letting the building fall back to the city. That was speculation on their part. But in addition to that, we called him to let him know the paperwork was not right, and it was radio silence. He had the check, and it was radio silence. And rightly so, David started to panic because we had no guarantee that we were going to be able to do anything, and maybe that money was just lost. So we went to the bank, and they said, yeah, on emergency situations, we can stop a check. And so we got the check stopped. And then magically, he started answering our phone calls. So that happened. And we, for a couple of days, we actually owned this building. And then I tried to contact him and just say, hey, how much would you just sell us? Because at the end in a few weeks, this is either going to go back to the city because of delinquent taxes. It's not going to end good. So can I pay you just for salvage rights to do windowsills and, a couple things that I could use would be helpful in salvaging the historic building that I have? And he answered like in a way that I couldn't understand, answered with a few words that there was no way by text message to get any sense. It's like he was putting the zero energy into it. And so that's kind of where it's at the moment. He doesn't really seem to be responding. He's not interested in, letting us purchase some salvage rights. And so now that we don't own it anymore, I can't even go back on the property because technically that would be trespassing. And so it's, that's why the story is a tragedy. But the positive thing is that we did shoot this footage during the time that we technically owned it, and the footage didn't get lost, and it's kind of a cool walkthrough here. It's abandoned building exploration, so I can actually do that without trespassing on anybody's properties, which is kind of cool. And just lets you know, like, this whole Midwest is full of... Those are the bathrooms over there. They have really awesome shelving in them, industrial shelving. They have like urinals on the walls, antique urinals, which are really cool. They have those great big wash fountain circular things, which is really cool. And just more stuff that could have been salvaged. So the guy that cut the elevator came and started the project with a simple backhoe. Just a little backhoe, and pulled down one end of the building. And there were a bunch of urinals in there, which could have been saved. I know it's maybe sounds weird that I'm talking about urinals, but they're antique and really cool and kind of rare. And, you know, they came off the wall with just backing out a couple screws. And, you know, he didn't care about that. So here, it's too dark to see. He walked by with a cutting torch and just cut a leg off this table. one leg out of the 4. These are those hairpin school table legs. Those are like desirable things to have for a furniture person, because you just bolt them on. They look great. They're mid-century. He just walked by, cut one leg off, and kept going. But yeah, so up until now, we've just like been in one little wing of the building. We're on the 3rd floor. And back to the back here was the area where they had a library. And I can't remember if I actually made it back there. It's really sketchy. There's another one of those tables. Super sketchy. If I know myself, I probably went ahead and took a... Yeah, I did. But just all those tables could be fished out, you know, in a couple hours. You could have all those. Go look on eBay what those legs go for. I mean, they're like between 50 and over $100 for a set of 4 of them. So, and there's hundreds of them in there. That's kind of a cool cabinet. It's a little bit too dark to film. Oh no, I'm on the 1st floor. And, sorry, it's been a while since I filmed this. There is a really cool pie cabinet in here. And it's really interesting because it's, I don't know if it's a pie cabinet, it's some kind of a closet or something. It's about neck high, but it's double. So it's got 4 doors on the front of it. And it's right by the entrance. And it's got wainscoting on the door in the front and back. And the demolition has already started. So that was, you know, that's obviously going to end up in the landfill, which is heartbreaking. This is the area where he started with the backhoe. We're going to be coming into that in just a second. And there's one of those, there's an Apple sticker on it, but they're old tank desks, I think they call them. Big heavy steel desks from the 60s, 50s. This thing is a cooler. Because it was a school, probably they kept their lunch stuff in there. Another fire door, or lunch trays. That hardware on that fire door is really valuable. I think a set of those is probably worth several $100s, if not more. He's torched off the doors to the cooler there, which is okay, I guess, because just cooler doors, but this area could have been salvaged. I mean, this whole wing of the building could have been salvaged. Here's an overhead door. It's got a loading dock. And it's got steel and concrete roof. So this was a totally salvageable area. They could have knocked down the entire building and just kept that. Here's an incredible set of way overbuilt shelving. That's kind of desirable, I think, for somebody's barn or, you know, workshop or whatever. Really great set of shelving. There's another one we'll come to here in just a minute. But we're going to walk out here and you can kind of see the area that's been... Just, like I said, was done with just a simple backhoe. He listed these... They weren't his, but the guy that was doing the salvaging listed all of those joists for $80 on Facebook and the beams for $200. He didn't get to sell any of them because they're all still in place. It's got a weird color paint on it, but this is like solid, heavy wood. These shelves, so very straightforward. Nothing too elaborate, but a great set of shelves. Those old fluorescent lampshades can be converted to LED. And there's hundreds of those in the building. I really like the Art Deco ones. Those are definitely worth switching. Here's a great old door from the factory. I've got 3 or 4 of those in my building as well. And there is another shelving system. Really heavy, really overbuilt. Great for a workshop. And here we are out back. This building over here is a separate detached building, which it's kind of neat actually. There's a smokestack there. The city said could just stay in place. There was some talk about if it got knocked down, it needed to be on a rainy day because of asbestos. But if it had to be torn down, then we wouldn't have even bought it because that would have been a nightmare in cost. I've got a couple of those from my building. There are 2 on this building. There's one there, one on the other side of this little detached area. I checked those out. Those sell for between $250 and $350 for each one, which is kind of cool. There's something in here that I really liked, and I cannot believe is still here. It's this old workbench. The missing drawers there are just kind of laying around, so I think they're present. Somebody's pulled them out just to rifle through them. There's one laying right there. And that's a really old, long workbench. And I see value in that. I really like that. That's the kind of thing I like. And the only thing it's got going against it is it's like built in, so where the windowsills are, the shape of the back of it is a little bit weird. Those are school doors, solid wood, not hollow core. Got some pipe rack here. Some old planks. Bunch of tires and children's school desks or whatever. But this building could be salvaged. This building would be great. I mean, it's got the ground floor is lower. That could almost, have a second floor put into it. It's not leaking, so all of the ceiling joists are in pretty good shape. But it'll probably get knocked down. There it is from the other side. Must have been built pretty early as well because it has the exact same stuff in the ceiling. Heavy steel door. So you'll see a bunch of stuff just laying all over the ground where metal was being thrown out of the building. All of these windows are here, and a lot of them were busted out so metal stuff could be thrown out. And it's a tragedy because they were pretty high quality. That being said, I'm sure kids did a lot of rock throwing, which is something that I've dealt with. You see all that metal there on the windowsill. That's what's been going on. This is the far wing away from the main road that's out front. So this is kind of like the long section of the building, which you guys know that I have in my building as well. About 400 feet. And just like the building in Charleston, this is built right next to the railroad track. There's a train that goes every day to Chicago from Mattoon. And it's like 50 feet from the building. And that was one of the things that the city had mentioned, is they were concerned about when the building gets knocked down that it doesn't end up on the railroad track property. That could be a nightmare. So that was definitely a concern, but I think it's far enough away that it wasn't too bad of a risk. So some old school chalkboards. Now, this kind of soft, pudgy look on the floor there, You see, that's basically because there's hardwood floor under that, and then under that hardwood floor is 4 by 6s, but they are impregnated with creosote, so not good. But the hardwood floor is still there, and that mucky stuff that's all over it is the floating ceiling that was in here, or the suspended ceiling that fell down and then just kind of rotted on top of the wood there. So I think obviously the bottom floor is going to be the worst in terms of the condition of the hardwood flooring. Yeah, beams. Those beams look like they survived pretty well. So when the full building comes down, I don't think there's going to be too much breakage in terms of the beams. The breakage will be on the 2x12s probably. There were a couple 4x12s mixed in that we just showed there. And they survived. They didn't break. So, of course, they didn't have the walls fall in on them. Just had the ceiling coming down. More tables. That table's in really good condition. It's just dusty and dirty. This is like a 1940s library book cart. It's missing one caster. That could be replaced, and it could be sandblasted and look pretty nice. Bunch of school desks. There are multiple areas where the roof caved in, that the gigantic cast iron pipe is what stopped it, prevented it from going all the way to the ground. So it's holding it up, and that's what you're trusting your life with when you're walking through this building. So if you see something you're interested in, you want to look at it, you can just hit your space bar on your computer. It should pause the video at the exact right moment, and then you'll be able to examine whatever you're wanting to see. There's the railroad track there. That section right there, straight ahead, is a bathroom, and it's 3 stories, and it's a later edition, and it's in great condition. So that could have probably been salvaged as well, not knocked down. We'll see what happens, what they decide to do. At some point, somebody's going to come in. Probably the city is going to gain control over it and just pay the guy $80,000 to knock everything down. The city is definitely aware that if there's ever a chance that I could get 2 horizontal and 2 vertical beams and 32 by 12s, I would be extremely grateful. Look how the top floor there is almost ready to cave in. It's all leaning in. That's brick. So that's why the city's so concerned about getting this down, especially with all the kids going in and stuff. I think we're going to get a better look here in a minute of some of that bird's eye maple. And there are actually some of the... underneath the hardwood flooring is tongue and groove 2x6 boards. So a lot of those were taken as well, and some of them were stacked up here. There's the 2x12. Little shot of the grain there. Doesn't seem like there's any rhyme or reason to what was brought out to be saved here by somebody, because I've seen way cooler stuff inside, stuff that needs to be salvaged. Here's a pallet of the bricks, so they did start salvaging these. It's the old lime mortar, so it comes off pretty easy. That was another factor that we took into consideration. Wholesale, you can get about $250 per pallet, and you could fit 22 pallets on a semi-truck of that brick. So, and the buyers pay, you know, they just send their driver to come pick it up, which is pretty awesome. There's probably 1 million bricks or more in that building. It's about 30% bigger than my building, so if that gives you any kind of hint. Oh, there's that bird's eye maple there. It's got some kind of varnish on it or something. Would have to be planed off. And so that pretty much wraps it up. We owned it for a little while, and it was going to be such an epic thing, and it would have been such great content to post when we knocked it down. But sadly, in the end, it didn't work out. But I am moving and hustling. I'm doing everything I can to, you know, take advantage of any opportunity that's going to help me move forward. So we spent like a month and a half on this, and it just didn't pan out. And I wish I had that month and a half back. But I think in the end it was worth going for, because had it worked out, it would have been the answer to a lot of challenges that I'm facing. So, but it was pretty cool to check out, wasn't it? So I will, I'll talk to you guys again soon. And yeah, like and subscribe. I don't think I've really done enough asking for that. If you're interested in supporting the channel, please do that. And the best thing you can do to support the channel is to watch another video. The algorithm loves that. So, all right, I'll talk to you guys soon. Bye-bye.